Good morning, virtual villagers. My name's Kate from What Kate Made. Happy December. We're now fully into the Christmas spirit. I said in our household, my husband's birthday is right at the end of November, so once that's over, we can start being Christmassy. Today, I'm going to show you a way to make a Christmas wreath. I'm calling it a wreath. It's not the traditional sort of wreath, but my community garden group, we're very much into our eco-friendly gardening, and this year we've tried to make something that is using more or less everything recyclable. So the whole thing can be more or less composted. There are only one or two things where we've had to use wire, but the basis of our this is going to sound silly. Every time people have asked me, what are you doing? Oh, I'm making a wreath out of potatoes. And they look at me really strangely. But what we're using is the humble potato. This is replacing the moist element of your wreath. So we're not using any sphagnum moss. We're not using florist foam. Neither of those options are very eco-friendly, particularly the moss. Moss needs to stay in the ground and doing its job rather than being dug up to make something that's then going to be thrown away, in my humble opinion. So we're going to start with the potato. We need the other items you're going to need is a variety of cutting implements. I've got wire clippers, I've got florist scissors. They're really good for cutting your branches, and I've got a little pair of fabric scissors that I'm using to cut ribbons. You also need your potato. You need a skewer. Now, the way I'm going to show you, I've actually started on mine because I'm going to be a bit short of time with this. So I'm going to show you how I've done it. So this is my potato. It will hang like that. At the back, about 2/3 of the way up the potato, I've pushed the skewer all the way through, right through the centre of the potato. That's for my hanging loop. Now, we used wire in ours, but thinking about it since then, I've actually used jute string, which I think will enable you to just drop that into the composting when it's all done, when Christmas is done. So as you can see, I've made a little bit of a start on it. I'm just going to turn the camera down so you can see my array of my table. I was just saying earlier, it's so dark here today. I've had to employ every lamp I possess to light this area up, because otherwise you'd not be able to see anything. So just bear with me while I reposition the camera so that you can see my table area. So make sure that's tight. Just slightly more that way. So you can see what I've got spread out here. I've got a variety of greenery. All this has been scavenged. I have a friend who has a huge garden full of lots of trees, and I go up and just pinch everything. So this is conifer. So it's a nice flat conifer. So the branches aren't too bushy, but they spread out flat like that. This makes a great base for your wreath. So as you can see, let me just move these pieces out so you can see it's a little bit better. I've already started on this. So the start of your wreath will be something flat. If you can get fir, like Christmas tree, you can do that. If you want to use fir, a good tip is to go to anywhere where they grow Christmas trees, because when they prepare them for sale, they cut the lower branches off and then they just get shredded. So you can go along and ask if you can have some of the branches. So your first layer wants to create the shape of your arrangement. Now the potato, you want one that's got is sort of like flattened on either side, back, top and bottom, but nearly all of them are oval shaped. If you can get a more round one like that, obviously you can make a more round arrangement. So if you want a round one rather than an oval shaped one, then make the top and bottom branches shorter so that it looks more round. What I might do is go over at the end and nip the tips out to make it rounder. So what you're aiming to do is to make your base layer almost circular. And I've worked out 8 pieces will do that. So you're putting basically at the points of the compass. Now, when you're preparing, make them more or less the same width. Take off any lower fronds. That one will be all right. Good tip is to cut it to a point. Take your skewer, your metal skewer. Metal's better than bamboo, we found the other night when we did this in our village as a village event. When you put your potato skewer in, push it in about half an inch, but give it a little wiggle, because as soon as you pull it out, the hole disappears. It's almost like some things do that when you know. So I'm just going to take my frond, I'm going to poke it in, and again I may need to trim that later. You want it to go in about 1/4 inch so it's firmly anchored, and I'm going to carry on doing that all the way around. So I'm just going to strip the lower fronds, cut it at a nice sharp angle like that, so I get a point on it. Make my hole in the place where I want it to be. So give it a little wiggle and then pop it in. So it's that simple. So we're going to work all the way around and put in our fronds. Take these bottom. Now this is quite good at the conifer because it's got a fairly stiff stem, so it goes in easily. Some of the greenery I've got has got a softer stem, and with that I am going to put a little bit of wire on. I'm trying to bring up your, I have this trouble every time, trying to bring up the live video so I can see your comments. There, I've got you up. Let me just turn the sound down. Right, so if you're out there, give me a wave, say hello, you know, pop a comment up, and I'll try and answer your comments as I go. So this is the last part of my initial layer. Now, as I said before, I might not have enough time to complete this today, but I will try. So I'm going to start sneezing now. I think I've developed an allergy to conifer. Just before I came on air, I sneezed for about 10 minutes. So excuse me for doing that. Right, so when I cut these pieces to length, all the bits, some of them were longer than that, so I cut the bottom bits off. So the bottom bits now look, you've got that. It's not quite the right shape, but it's great for filling in. So what I'm going to do with these, if you can see the length of that, I'm going to strip this stalk right down, and I'm going to cut it so that it sits in between. So the next layer of your greenery, if you like, wants to point slightly upwards. So we're going to go between each of these fronds and make a hole that's slightly higher than the previous layer. And I'm going to put them in at a slight angle so that they're sitting up, but they're between the ones we used earlier. And because they've got no spiky top on them like that, they probably wouldn't be any good, but you're still going to see the spikes of the previous layer. So I'm just going to go around again using, I'll use slightly less. I'll only put 6 in this one, whereas there was 8 in the layer below. And you'll find that's what happens as you go along. You put less in as you want it to sort of rise up. Now, because I've been doing this as my community garden group, as I say, we had a village event on last Thursday, and before that the group got together and had a practice. So I've got loads of these, and I'm doing them again today. I've got loads of these around. All my friends are going to be getting one, and we're going away for a few days to stay with a friend in York who doesn't listen to this, so she'll be getting one. The family will probably all get one. Now you see I've made that hole and then I can't find it again. Sometimes if you rub your finger along it, you can find it. It smells absolutely gorgeous in here now, although I think that's what's setting me sneezing off. So I'm just gonna go around again with these fronds. So this is my second layer, as I said. I'm only going to put 6 in. In a minute I'll hold it up so you can see it, how it looks. They're slightly at an angle, so, well, that's too much at an angle. So they're going in. Now, what I didn't do was bring up one to show you that I'd done, one of the other ones I'd done. But the first one we did, when we had our practice as a group, we did them nearly 3 weeks ago now, and it's in my porch. It's been in the porch, so it is cool, and it's still fine. The potato itself has gone a little, excuse, just dropped on the floor. has gone a little bit soft, but bear with me, I'll pick it up again. But the greenery is still green, so it's lasted quite well. I mean, the 1st of December is probably just a bit early for doing these, if you want them to last all through Christmas. But if you leave it another week before you do yours, then it will last all through Christmas, particularly if it's outside. It's also a good way to make an indoor arrangement. So if you were wanting to put one on your hearth, I always like one on my hearth, because it being on your hearth, it makes the greenery smell beautiful. Now you can see, I hope you can see how that's starting to form its shape. Trying to get the right angle. I want to show you the sort of layering that's going on. So you're getting these layers going up. So that is probably enough conifer. So the next thing we're going to do is create some colour into it. Now I have got variegated holly. Holly goes in last, because if you're trying to poke other stuff in with the holly, it really does scratch your hands. I've still got a scratch from the other night. So what I've picked to add some colour, this isn't holly, this is, I can't remember what it's called. Not that one, it's this one. I think it's called something like euonymus, something like that. It grows in the garden. It's an evergreen, and it's got beautiful variegated leaves, and there's loads of it. So it makes a really good filler. So I'm going to cut these. I'm going to cut quite a few, a piece with quite a few front strands on it, because it will, as I say, make a nice filler. Actually, that's probably needs to be cut again because it's got a bit of a curve on it. I'll cut it there. Again, simply make a hole. Now I am working on the top of the potato now, but I'm going to follow the same pattern of following the sort of like points of the compass. So north, south, east, west. So that's going to lie like that. And it's making quite a nice filler. I'm going to put one at the other end, at the south end. At this point, it's very much a sort of like suck it and see nearly. You're putting things in and seeing what they look like. And that's a bit fragile, that one. If you're finding that your greenery is a bit fragile, I've got some florist wire here as well. This is like, you can't really see that on the camera, but it's a fine green wire. What you can do is just wire the stem. I folded it in half, so I've got a double thickness of wire, and then poke the wire into your potato. So again, I mean, the wire goes straight in. So that has given me that little bit more stability for that. I've got lots of this, so what I'm going to do is fill the centre of my wreath with all this, and then I'm going to put features in it after that, like colours and different leaves I've got. One thing that's really, really nice in these is something that's aromatic. So that's going to all need wiring. It's not very strong. Aromatics like herbs, so bay and rosemary are brilliant, because bay's got beautiful glossy leaves, and rosemary's got the nice spikiness to its shape. I have got some here, but everything's got a bit of a heap now, so it'll turn up when I've cleared some space. And again, I want to angle this one so it's going out over my other branches. Can you see okay? I'm trying to get myself in the camera. So I want this one to go in at the sort of northeast, yeah, side of it. I'm going to push the wires right in, and then the beauty of the wire is you can actually bend things into shape then as well. So as I said, this is incredibly useful. Because although it's an evergreen, it's not strictly speaking a Christmassy greenery. But if you don't tell anyone, I won't. So now you might think, oh, she's really good at this. I'll tell you for why I'm really good at this. My mum and dad ran a market garden. My mum was a florist and my dad was a landscape gardener. So when I was a child, come Christmas, all we did was make holly wreaths, and we made thousands. I mean, literally thousands. So I'm very expert at this. All my teenage years were spent my teenage Christmases were spent doing this. And I've picked up a few of my mum's floristry skills, but I'm nowhere near as good as she is. So I'm getting these to curl out at the sides. I'm going to keep using the wire because these are quite narrow stems and quite loose, quite fragile. Plus, when you've got the wire in, you can kind of bend it a little bit to where you want it to be. So this one's going in at the westerly direction. Basically, what you want is to not be able to see the potato. And that will give you a really nice shape. I'm going to try this one without wire in it because it's got quite a tough bit of stem on it. I'm going to keep going until I've used all of this because then I've got a really good base to start putting in the more aesthetically pleasing bits. I'm going to show you a few embellishments you can make using ribbons and various other things that I've got. One thing I'm really proud of that I did, something new I've never tried before. I want that one to go there. So see if I can bend that a bit before I stick it in. I'm just going to pinch this wire close to make a bit more of a point. It's stronger when it's bent double, but I want it to go in about there. I can feel my sneezes coming back. I think I must be allergic to conifer. Never have been before. Right, so let me hold that forward a little bit. You can see I've still got a hole in the middle. I need to start filling all this in. Just a few people watching. Oh, Lisa Jenkinson, dogwood. Yes, because that is that the one that goes red in the winter? That would be really nice. Yeah. Morning hazel. See, this is what I like about the village hall. I start doing something and people give me loads of great tips. So next time I might have a look around the village. As I said, everything we've got here has been scavenged. We've tried to not buy anything. We ended up, except for the potatoes, because we didn't grow any potatoes this year. But if you've grown your own potatoes, you don't even need to buy that. And I've gone around all the village. My friend across the road has really good holly, and loads of people have conifers that they're more than happy for you to go and pinch at. And particularly, I need to give a shout out to Catherine Robinson. Her garden has provided like 90% of the greenery that we use for our events in the village. And there was 30 people there making these wreaths. So you can imagine that Catherine's garden provided a lot of the materials. So we're very, very grateful to Catherine. Now, our community garden has only been going this year. We started it in January. And we're part of the Britain in Bloom It's Your Neighbourhood scheme. And this year, in the Northwest, we won a level 4 award, which is quite unusual in your first year. So we're very, very proud of ourselves. This is a shorter, bushier piece. So I'm going to put that so it's pointing more upright. I need to make a hole. I've got greenery all over the floor now. So I'm just filling in now with these shorter, bushier pieces so that I've got all the middle filled up. Now, I'm not an expert at this. Mine isn't what you would call perfect by any means. So don't be put off. This is such an easy way to do things. You see a lot of wreath making events, in my opinion, are incredibly expensive because basically this stuff, even if you live in a city centre, I bet if you wandered around your neighbours, and please ask the neighbours permission before you do this, you'd be able to get enough bits to make your own wreath. I'm lucky that I live out in the countryside, but even then, you know, you're not gonna. We don't tend to just go and pick stuff out of the hedgerow either. The only thing we've noticed this year, and we only found one lot of holly with berries on. So what I'm going to do when I've got all my greenery, and I'm going to show you a few little tricks with beads and other bits to provide some redness. I mean, I've tended to use ribbon, make little ribbon bows, which I'll show you how to make. Right, so I'm just going to tilt that camera up ever so slightly. I think you're just a bit low down. That's better. Now you can see it a bit better. So now you can see that I've got my basis in of my wreath. Everything's covered. You can't see the potato. I've got this nice shape. So from, if I turn it the other way up, you'll be able to see how much bigger than the potato it is. So let's go that way. The potato's there in the middle and it comes out to here now. So it's a good 1.5 foot wide. Quite sturdy. Nothing's going to fall out. And we're ready to go on to the nice bits. So I think, let me have a look at that. I'm going to show you some of the embellishments. The rest of the wreath would basically be just filling in. I'll show you what else I've got here. I've got some bay. I've got lots of ivy. And again, with the ivy, when you're picking it, the long fronds tend to have very few leaves on. So I've gone for the bits at the base where there's lots of little short stems, and I will chop that into pieces. One thing I did find, and it was only when I got it home, well, that's my rosemary. I haven't got much because I use my rosemary all the time. I use it for cooking, so it never grows very much. I picked some leaves that I thought that were like a non-prickly holly. Let me see if I can find them. And when I just chucked them in the bag when I was at Catherine's. But when I got them home, I noticed that the back of the leaves is pale and the front is glossy green. And I thought, oh, they're lovely. If they're going that way, they're going to really provide some beautiful colour in my wreath. Now, I said I would show you some ways of brightening it up. Let's just pop that to one side. I am now going to need my wires and my little tray of frilly bits. So one thing I do like is one of the ivies has these beautiful flowers on them. I don't know if you can see that. Let me bring it closer. So they're like a little bobbly spray. Now what I've done today is spray these gold, because I thought they will really stand out in my wreath. So that's one thing. I've got 2 of those. I've got some pine cones. Now Catherine, again, it was a lifesaver. She has pine trees in her garden and had a wheelie bin full of pine cones. So this one, I've just touched up the edges with a little bit of white paint. I'm going to show you how to, these are quite difficult to wire up actually because they don't open at the bottom. So ideally you want one that's fairly open. So I'll show you how to wire that in a minute. I've got a seed head. I'm not sure what it is, where it's from, and where I even got it from. It might have been in with Catherine's pine cones. I'm going to try and do something with that as well, but again, it's got a short stem, so it might be difficult to wire. I might have to glue that. I've also got some, these are little pearls. They're not real pearls. They're off a necklace. They make nice little fake berries. So what I've done with these is that I've put 3 of them on a silver florist wire, and they look like berries, so they're quite nice to put in. I've done a couple of those. I've got assorted ribbon, of which this red is great for making a faux berry. I'm going to show you that now. I don't know whether I can move it close enough to the camera. So you need a fine wire, like a silver florist wire. And then basically you take your ribbon and you kind of pleat it. So I'm making little loops and pleating them together like that. And then when you've got or used all your ribbon, you just pinch it at the end, and with your very fine wire, wrap it round to hold it all together, and that's your beautiful little loopy ribbon. I will then wire it onto one of these thicker wires, just because the silver wire won't go through into the potato. So I'm using the thicker green wire, florist wire. I'm twisting it. I folded it in half and twisted it. You can't really see that very well against the background. I folded it in half and twisted it together to make like a prong. Then I'm going to just simply wire, using the silver wire that is left over, wire my little ribbon loop onto that. So then I've got a nice stiff ribbon to go in it. Now, same with the pine cone. We're going to use the silver wire to try and basically go around I don't think my silver wires are quite long enough to go around this one, but what you want to do is thread them through the lower sections of the pine cone, if you can do it, where it's just starting to open up, and then twist it again to secure it. And then I'm actually going to use this. This is a wire on a loop. I haven't used the other. It's slightly thicker. Even you can't see against the background. It's slightly thicker than the ready cut wire. I'm just going to snip a piece off using my trusty pliers. Where did that go? There it is. And again, I'm going to fold it in half and give it a twist so it makes like a strong stem, if you like. Then I'm going to put the silver wire through it, through that little loop at the end, and then pinch it shut. Wrap the remainder of the silver wire around the stem. This isn't as secure, but you can see now I've got a stem. You see it? That's better against my hand. I've got a stem on my pine cone. Same with these ivy seed heads that I got. I'm going to cut a length of this florist wire, this thicker one. I'm going to hold that against the bit of the stem and wrap the finer silver wire around it like that. So it's giving it a stronger stem. I'm going to bend that up a little bit and make it a double it, and then carry on wiring it together. Just squidge that a little bit. I shouldn't do this with my florist scissors, but my other pliers are in the box. So that's got a stronger stem to stick it into the what else have I got here to show you? I acquired quite a few little bits and pieces over the year. I bought them. I didn't just pinch them. When you say acquired, it sounds a little bit dodgy, doesn't it? So anything you've got that's a little bit on the fragile side and you think might not go through the potato itself, it's a good idea to add the wire to it. Gwen's just joined us a little bit late, she says, but she thinks they look fabulous. Thank you, Gwen. Now, where did that go? The trouble with all the green is when you drop a green wire in among it, you can't see it again. I'll get another one. So I think we've got, oh, there's one more thing I want to show you, the thing I'm quite proud of. I like to have a cinnamon, orange particularly, but cinnamon and orange are very evocative for me at Christmas. So one of the things I've done this year, which I've never done before, and it was a friend who said, oh, you can do those in your air fryer. If you have an air fryer and it's got a dehydrate function, it makes fabulous dried oranges. These are all my homemade orange slices. Look how, I wish you could smell them. They smell amazing. They smell like very sweet orange. The colour's really good. They're really stiff. I've got whole ones and half ones because when I got to the end of the orange, I found it. You slice them around about 1/2 centimetre slices, range them in your air fryer, put it on dehydrate, and that's it. Leave it overnight. And the colour is so much nicer than the ones I've bought in the past, because the ones I've bought in the past obviously get older and the colour fades, but these are gorgeous and they just smell amazing. So I can be quite generous with them as well, because I can just make some more. And the other thing I do is with them, I've got cinnamon sticks as well. These are a non-food grade cinnamon sticks, so they're just for crafting. So with these, I tend to do them on a wire, and the orange slices, I'll use a fine, I'm going to use the fine silver wire. I'm going to bend it in half, and I'm going to poke it through my orange slices, through both of them. I'm going to set them slightly at an angle so that it looks pretty, and I'm going to poke it through in 2 places so that it comes out at the back. Oops, one end. It's not very strong. I might have to use a stronger wire. There we go. It's going through now. So at the back, you've got the 2 ends of the wire coming through. Then I'm going to twist those together. That holds my orange slices in a nice arrangement. And then you can just nip that off once they're the wire together. We're not going to use that wire again, because the cinnamon stick we're going to place across the front like that. And I'm going to use one of the stronger wires. Again, I'm going to bend it in half to make like a U shape, and then I'm going to poke that through. Well, actually, no, what I'm going to do first is wire it around the cinnamon stick. So I've got it around the cinnamon stick. I'm just going to twist. You can just twist the stick like that, and then again I'm going to poke it through the oranges, so right through both layers. And then what's left of the wire at the bottom I'll just twist so that they're all fastened securely together, and that makes a lovely embellishment, and that will go into your wreath as well. So we've got our nice gold ivies, we've got our cinnamon and orange, we've got our pine cone, we've got our nice red ribbon, we've got some faux mistletoe berries. What else was I putting in? That's about it now. As I said, the holly goes in last. So I'm going to, what time have we got? We've got time. I've got on quicker than I thought. The time consuming bit is this first bit, in getting all your base greenery in. So now I can start to make it look a little bit more pretty. So the first thing I'm going to go with, because the stems are quite fragile on these as well, is my rosemary. And it smells amazing. I love the smell of rosemary. In fact, one of my favourite Christmas things to make is cranberry and rosemary bread. And you make a wholemeal bread mix, and you put in dried cranberries and fresh rosemary, and it's just amazing. Toasted, it's gorgeous. Now, I've only got 3 pieces of this because that's all I could find that was any decent length. So I'm just going to make my holes in my potato randomly. And again, I'm trying to leave the skewer in, because once you get all this greenery in, it is quite easy to lose your hole. I'm just going to put these in randomly, because it doesn't really matter where they're placed. It's because it's the smell of them we want. The trouble with covering your potato is you can then not find any potato to stick it in. So where's my other piece gone? There it is. And I'm sort of like putting them at sort of thirds. So what we're going to do now with our greenery is give it a little bit of height. So we're going to, our rosemary, if you can see, I don't know if you can, is here and here. It's got quite a bit of height to it. So everything else I'm going to put in is going to be at that height. So it's going to give us the round feeling. I'm going to go in with ivy next. Where's that bit I had earlier? So this is really quite bushy, and it's got a really good stem. So that's what you want. You want to be able to put it in and it be staying in. So I'm going to cut it about halfway along. I'm going to cut it at an angle, I'm going to cut it at an angle at the bottom as well. So these are quite bushy pieces. Cutting it at an angle gives you a point. It does make it easier to get in your potato. And as I say, you've got to be quick, otherwise you lose your hole. Oh, I just want to go in that piece. I think I'm going to have to take that bottom bit off. So I've got more of a stem, which is a shame because it was a nice shape. There's my hole. Cut it a bit closer. That's it. Oh, it's starting to smell gorgeous now. I've put the rosemary in. I think I'm going to need to make a bigger hole. It doesn't want to go in that piece. Right, what I might have to do is put some wire on that. Where's my wire gone? There we go. It's quite a thick stem and it doesn't want, my hole's not big enough basically. Oh, they're nice. Good scissors, move them out of the way. There's the clippers. Now I can't find a thing now. Now you can, I showed you the ribbons before and I just made a little bow. Now if you used a thicker ribbon, so maybe like a couple of inches wide, and did the same arrangement, it would make a nice, you know, the same way of wrapping it, it would make a really nice big bow that you could then use as sort of like top or bottom of your wreath to make a nice big statement. So that's my ivy going in there. It's much better with the wire on. It's gone right in. It's filling in nicely. I'm a little bit random at this, as you'll have guessed. So this is my other piece. And again, I'm going to cut that in half. So I will wire it because it is a little bit thick, that stem to poke in the potato. I'm keeping an eye on the time. We have got this is going to be quite a bit longer than I usually spend on a demonstration, but it's worth it. So with my wire, I'm sort of cutting a piece and then bending it in half so that it will go all the way around the stem of my ivy, and just nipping off the extra bits. I think I want that one to go there. It's a case now really of just looking around your wreath and saying, where have I got a space? Finding your potato. That doesn't want to go in. So there we go. It's going in now. I'm sort of pushing it to one side the variegated stuff I put in earlier, so I need to rearrange that a little bit. What else have I got? Oh yes, this is the leaf I told you about before. That's really nice, sort of golden on the back. So we'll use some of that and we'll put it in upside down nearly. Where's my skewer? Everything's disappearing now. Let's lift that a little bit. There it is. It's always difficult spotting when you're done because you think you can just keep going and then suddenly you think, oh dear, there's way too much in there. But I'm going to put this one in so that the golden side of the leaf is showing. I think that's quite pretty. Let's rearrange the leaves so you can see them. I'm trying to look at it and make sure I've not got any holes or any sort of like bits that are sticking out randomly. But the only thing I haven't put in yet is my bay, and I want to put that in because I just love the smell of it. So I'm going to cut some just 2 or 3 bits, again at an angle. I think I seem to have got slight imbalance, and I've got dark on this side but not a lot of dark on this side, so I'll put the bay to this side. Let's see if I can find that hole now. Sometimes if you run your finger over the potato, you can feel where the hole is. So that's balancing that out a little bit now. The other piece of my bay is a bit more bushy. I'll just cut that side bit off. Maybe that bit. And again, I'm going to cut it at an angle so it's nice and pointy. Any leaves that you cut off your bay, keep them. Put them in the next stew you make. I always put bay leaves in whenever I'm doing anything meaty. I don't know why, I just love them. I'm trying to find the place to put that. Maybe opposite that one. My potato is so full now, I'm not finding bits of potato to make holes in. Right, I'm going to stop now because I want to start adding the colourful bits to it. I think I've got quite enough greenery there. Now, let me hold it up for you. Oh, I'll go that way. So you can see it's full now. And it's quite sort of like loose arrangement of, yeah, anyway, it's not perfect, but I like it. So I may want to get a little bit more height in it as I go along. Right, so the embellishments we made earlier, these are our golden sprayed ivy seed heads. So just find a nice place that looks quite pleasing, and they'll just go in quite easily with the wire we put on. Oops, I say they're going quite easily, that one's bending. So I'm going to put those sort of opposite each other. I'm going to need to put another wire on that. I'll put a bit more pointy-ended wire on it. I can feel my sinuses exploding now. I think I must be developing an allergy to green stuff. I do suffer from hay fever in the summer, but that's caused by pollen, so I don't know what it is. I know a lot of people are allergic to fur, but I haven't got any fur in here. We've got our pine cone. Again, that's wired. So I want to put that, I maybe put that in the middle. The trouble with these is because of the way they're wired, they're not awfully stable, because it tends to wobble a bit. I'm going to just wind it around a little bit more around make that a bit more. I'll put that off to one side because it's going to flop to one side anyway. I'm starting to get a bit of a hole in the middle now as I move all the greenery to one side. Then my orange I'm going to put right in the middle because that is my favourite bit. Again, I think that needs a little bit longer wire to make it stand out a bit more. Now, there's another way to do this. And somebody did one the other night, one of our church ladies, because we had our event at the church hall. Instead of doing a flat backed arrangement like this, if you get a smaller rounder potato like that, you can do it as a ball. So you do your greenery all around it 360 degrees. Now I'm going to try that probably tomorrow, because I think it's a great idea and I really want to try. I've got a hanging basket hanger, bracket, that's the word I'm looking for, and I thought I would put it on that by the front door. So that is my orange slice. My red ribbons, I'll do more of these little ribbons because they do provide a nice pop of colour. And what I want to do is kind of make them just add a little bit of life to this. I mean, I know it's plenty of green, but now that I've got all the greenery in, all the wires I put on earlier are a bit short. So I'm having to rewire. I keep moving away from the camera. I must apologise. It's just that it's kind of like difficult to get close enough for you to see, but far enough away that you can see everything. So we'll pop these in, I think, there to the side. Where's my potato? Don't want to go in. Quite a few of you out there today. I think the fact that it's now the 1st of December is making everybody feel slightly Christmassy. As I said earlier, my husband's birthday comes first, so we have to get that out of the way before we start being Christmassy. And then my birthday's in February, so middle of February. So we're kind of 6 weeks before and 6 weeks after. So we get a nice double celebration. Although saying that, probably we'd have had more celebration if one of us was in June and spread it to the middle of the year, but there you go. I'm just going to give this wire a double twist because I'm finding it's even this isn't going in the potato anymore. I think the trouble is once your potato gets quite a lot of stuff in it, it does get a little bit so that it starts to lose its integrity, its solidness, because it's got so many holes in it. So I've wired this up again onto a thicker wire, and I'm going to put it in there. Where's my potato? Finding the surface of the potato, it's disappeared. Right, I'm going to stop now because there is a danger that you will go too far. I'm going to turn the camera up and I'm going to show you how it hangs. So if you just bear with me a minute, I need to undo a few screws. Now, if I can get the angle just right, I can hang it on that door where my bags are currently hanging. Let's take those down. And where's my string? Now, this is the first time I've done it with string, so it does hang weird when you're holding it sort of suspended. But as soon as you put it against a flat surface, it hangs more upright. So, what do you think? I don't think I can zoom you in. Could try. No, I can't. So that's our finished wreath. I think you can safely say that it is pretty. Can't get it off the doorknob now. I'm very pleased with that. It might need a little bit of a trim of these excess fronds, but I'm very pleased. What do you think? I'm exceptionally pleased with my oranges. I like to be able to do something, make it myself rather than buy things. So it's not a traditional wreath shape. It doesn't have your hole in the middle because it's got your potato at the back. But they are nice. They're, as I say, once you've taken out the bits on wires, you can just put that straight in your compost bin after Christmas. So ecologically friendly. Now, we've had loads of people watching. Because it's been a busy one, I haven't really had time to answer your questions. Let me just turn that down a bit. I will try and get through all your comments and questions when I have my lunch, but I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly enjoyed it. I've enjoyed all the 4 times I've done it now. So my house is going to look very green. What I'm going to say is there's another way to. As I told you about the hanging ball you can make with potato. Also, if you put this in a pot, a plant pot, or something, you can make a small round one, so it's sort of dome shaped, and they're really nice if you have somewhere you want to take something to a grave, for instance. We used to make grave pots. That it's nice, or in the middle of your table. You can also cut a hole in. One of the ladies who came to our demonstration cut a hole in the top of a potato with a melon baller and put a candle in it and had it on the table, just flat on the table. There's loads and loads of things you can do with your potato, and not just at Christmas. You replace any sort of florist foam with the potato. Keeps everything alive for about 3 weeks. There's enough moisture in it. Rather than florist foam is probably going to be banned very soon anyway. So anyway, that's our potato. That's our Christmas decoration. Next time I'm doing different ways of creating wrapping for presents. Specifically, I'm looking at small things for things like gift cards, nice for paper folding techniques, and really, you know, something just a little bit different for your wrapping this year. So thank you very much for watching. I'll try and catch up with all your comments, and I'll be back in 2 weeks. So see you then. Goodbye.